Hey, afternoon, everybody. Hopefully, I'm not as loud as I think I am. See, my lights are adjusting. Things are just following. You've joined the Wicked Lady Hippie. We are at my bar live, meaning I just don't take the trouble to edit these. I'm a big failure lately, but I digress. I'm an amateur, of course. I've been doing this on and off for 3 years. Just throw it up there, and I think, well, maybe we'll get a little here or there live chat. Subscribe, whatever they, like, dislike. I don't make any money doing this, so I won't change my mind either way. At least I don't think so. That's not how much money one throws at me. I'm having one of those days. Background, let's see. Army veteran, published author, mother of one, grandmother of two, and my grandson is also an Army veteran. Said he thought somebody besides his grandma should wear Army boots. When he returned from Korea, just post-pandemic, I mean last flight out type thing, he decided he'd become a veteran. He was good to go. I went to Europe and all that, so I had a lot more fun. And yeah, so that's me in a nutshell. I tend to talk about whatever crosses my mind, unless somebody pops up here and wants to talk about something else. Generally, I don't throw a video up here. I figure if I've seen the video, y'all have seen it like, 1.5 million times. It doesn't need to be here unless you want it here. I tend to speak on whatever video it was I saw anyway. I don't have to have it in front of me to talk about it, about anything. I thought this looked like it was a lot of fun, and I had noticed that podcasting had come up, and I wanted to say, well, it's free, so it's not just for those who have money and clout and whatever. They're not secondhand stars themselves per se. I don't mean that in a bad way, no bad mail. I just mean, not maybe top tier, but, right at it. I'm not there. I'm never going to get there. I'm about as normal as you can get probably in the 21st century. And again, I started to do this because I thought it looked interesting, and I thought it was a great way to go rather than talking around a table while we're, we've been doing that since the 70s. None of us stopped, okay? That stuff is delivered to your door now. It's just post-apocalyptic. So just like the way that sounded. I hope you can hear me. I notice sometimes that I just tend to drown out. I'm trying not to echo so bad, but again, I wear all the hats up here. And I wanted the hippies to come together. Like I said, excuse me, it's the bar. You can drop in any time. I'm in Augusta, Georgia. If you would like to come in, you can, phone call me or what have you. I give you the information, live chat me, comment, whichever. If you would like to see me and you're in Augusta, that'd be great. All my friends and family, they will not become guests on my program at all. I don't have any reasons for this. They just will not do it. Most of them say, how do you get up there and do that? And I'm like, how do you not do it? This is the best thing since air conditioning, and sweltering over here. Yeah, I'm having one of those days. So to me, it's a way for, like I said, the hippies to unite, for us to holler out and say, hey, we're not in Congress and the House or the Senate. The people is older than us. They're not 90 yet, but they're still hanging on to that seat. We don't know anybody that's voted for Nancy Pelosi in the past 2 decades, but she's still there. All this stuff they're yelling about voter fraud and all that shit. I was like, really? It used to be a secret ballot. It had the little curtain, and then people started buying hats and signs and bumper stickers. I'm like, well, no secret which way you're moving. Maybe if it went back to being a secret ballot. I don't know. I don't bother because you have other elections besides the people's election. The Electoral College votes the president in. Ask Google, whoever you've got, ask them. They'll tell you the same thing. And so it's kind of a moot point to stand out there in 30 below zero so you can vote. Seen people doing that, and the opposite goes south. But I've never found a need to compete with 4 or 5 people from the state I'm living in that says, well, she's going to vote this way. Oh, no, puppy. Way wrong. That was just a hard no there, but okay. I don't have time to go find you, but I can dream about it, and they frown upon stuff like that, stalking laws. So, again, my bar, my rules. I'm allowed to have a little cigar on the 3 days a week that I bothered to get up here and yell at y'all because my husband's a good guy, and I had to quit smoking about 5 years ago, I think it was. Might have been longer now, I don't know. Had a bad time, and so I was had a terrible accident, and I was literally bedbound for a little over a year. And so I'm just getting back on my feet. And my first channel, this is my second. My first one just didn't want to play anymore. And I've got like 4 Chromebooks hooked up, and I'm like, so I said, okay, I'll get a new channel. So that I'm hoping if you see me here, maybe you'll throw it up there so your friends can find it, what have you. If anyone wants to see, it's just me. What you see is what you get down here. There's some people I usually shout out to. Charlie Kirk. Terrible that the United States is capable 75 years later doing what they did the first time around with John, Bobby, and Malcolm and Martin. How many people have to be assassinated before the Secret Service gets their shit together? They missed Trump, but not even by that much. They missed him by a millisecond. I mean, literally. I mean, do you know how close your ears to your head? Yeah, that was divine providence with it. I always say to people, I like Donnie. I do. He's funny as shit. And if he can call Kid Rock Bob, I get to call him Donnie. Hello. Thank you, President Trump. And he's a great sense of humor. I don't think he had a problem with that. It's like the little Alcatraz they said there was opening in Florida. I call it Gator Gitmo. I love that. It makes me crap every time. So, yeah, these are the things going on in our lives. And I pointed out, can't find people who did vote. And then you find the ones that did actually vote. I haven't really found any of those people, but if you do, please let me know. Can't find anybody. I have a very small circle that could be it. But generally, none of us vote. My age generation, because again, we're not represented anywhere, at least of my fellow hippies that we can point at and say, yeah, I wanted the state to vote for him. All the delegates vote for them. Can't find anybody that says that. So if you guys are doing, little things that say, hey, they're doing that, you put that together and maybe email it. I'd love to see how they get that done. It was, and I like Donald Trump. And I tell everybody, he's an asshole, but he's our asshole. And respect, man, respect. Respect the office. I worked in D.C. and did all that. I was in the agriculture building, which is where your food stamp program still run from. And myself and my mother-in-law put that together. She had already started it when I came out of the Army and went civilian. And so that, back when they had the funny money, we called it funny money. A lot of people called it monopoly money. We just called it funny money. And so that was another first. And we were the first cycle of women to train with the men as regular Army instead of in the WAC Corps, the Women's Auxiliary Corps. When we took off in our plane, we were going to be a WAC. When we landed, we were at Fort Jackson in Columbia, South Carolina, not Fort McClellan, Alabama, and a bunch of mean-looking dudes. I'm all 17. Parents had to sign so I could go in. And I had trained as a nurse and as a secretary, top tier. I had rank. And you don't usually, you're training generally when you hit boot camp. Some of us have rank. And so that was fun. They said you can stay or we'll send you back, and there's, you won't get disarmed or anything like this. And we all kind of looked at each other and said, don't bring it. We're here now. We were all young. Well, they beat the shit out of us. My eyelashes hurt until 92. But we managed to get through it. And the guys were great, all of them. Once you're not actually, still a boot camp trainee, whatever, then they can talk to you like you're a real person. But while you're doing, I'm just messing with this stuff. So yeah, I thought that was apropos. And so, my point being, there's a couple of firsts that the hippie generation was in on, and that being one of them. Now we got fighter pilots. Those women are astonishing. They take that thing off the carrier, and when they come back, they're like this, and they come down, and then, oh my God, that's respect. But you didn't have none of that until our ladies went through. And so I'd like to give everybody, all the women in particular, a shout, as well as the men of that time. We were the only ones to actually be in the military at peacetime at both the 20th century and the 21st century, because we were at war in between those. So it was an amazing time. And then, of course, the women also were in theater. And again, we were lucky. There was no war during the time that I served. So there's that. But we managed to get everybody in. And everybody that goes in nowadays, not only are they volunteers, government issued, that's what GI means, you're government issued. And so you have to deal with all that and understand the fact that you might end up killing somebody because so-and-so sent you here. And the chief of command there and our president said, well, we got to get these bitches. It's a hell of a thing to do. It really is. For me, it was a bitter decision because I wasn't going to be handed a weapon. We were just going to be like doing calisthenics to get in shape. We even brought tennis shoes. It was, tennis shoes, shorts, white t-shirts. Yeah. Didn't happen. So I took all this stuff and they put it away. And then you had to stay in uniform. And you got passes, you got to golf base. So my step-grandson had heard me tell stories about Fort Sam Houston, which was my first duty station. It was more like a college campus. I went back to San Antonio like 7 times. I mean, even as a civilian, I just moved back. I loved San Antonio. And so he heard all that. So now he's been in about 2 years. He's a medic, and he got to train, of course, at Fort Sam Houston. That's where they train him. And he said, Grandma's stories are absolutely true. I was like, why would I lie to you? and even the Stars and Stripes and all that stuff, he went to try to access back in the day. I don't know if he was successful at the time. He was not, but then he was sent to Korea. So he probably still is not successful in that search, bless him, and he's way too busy for me to bother him. My own grandson, when he was in Korea, we barely had a text, that's just the way it is. And I understand all that because I did that. And even though you think, you have Sunday off or what have you, you have 500 things you got to do. Back in our day, you had to, get your shoes and your boots and your breasts, all they had to shine, all they had to be clean. And they measured it, make sure it was where it was supposed to. Yeah, they were serious. And you couldn't leave the base in fatigues. You had to be in your dress uniform. And so that was, it's a lot different now. Even with my grandson back then, I say that was over a decade ago, it seems like, but not quite. And I hated those fatigues and boots. I kept thinking, they look so sloppy. I know everybody wears them now, but I do wish the Department of Defense or War or whatever they're calling it now. I like Department of War myself. Gulf of America. I've been doing that lately. I watched a show the other day, but I love emergency. I used to teach the paramedic back when they weren't paramedics, they were firemen. And we used to pop in and we used to teach them. It's basically field applications or what have you. They could set IVs, they could set bones and, transport. And this show was set in LA, California, where the program first got off. And it was one of my favorite shows back in the day. And I looked it up and I was astonished to find out. I loved the guy. I really loved the guy. No, not a girl crush, but they were great actors with what they had to deal with back in my day. Didn't have blue screen and all that stuff. It was you, baby. The camera. And the camera was like 4 feet long on rollers. They were good, though. They were really good. And then I got to where I was like, they kept yelling, fire. And then I said that I happened to be discussing it, and I said that. And when I said, when they go, fire, it always makes me laugh. I don't know why. And it didn't happen back in my day. It just recently happened. I found the show again. And I was active duty at the time for like the last couple of years of it. So I didn't get to see it. And the first couple of years, I was a busy beaver and barely got to see it. You couldn't videotape it or what have you that they're doing now. I don't even know, but you weren't going to get to see it unless they did a repeat and you were there. There was no cable. There was none of that. So we were good to go. So that's being on a couple of things of background. And again, that's why I get up here and I go, look, it's free. We can dish whoever we want. If they can't do that in England because they arrested 12,000 of them for using Facebook and Twitter. And I was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? They weren't kidding. They were not kidding. That was the stats on them arresting people. I think they call it hate speech, or they may call it something else, but most folk call it hate speech. And it's so Orwellian that I'm like shocked every time I hear one of the statistics. I'm like, nah, way. Seriously? And yeah, Wow, Then I heard that Canada had made euthanasia for humans legal, which only seems fair. I'm an animal lover. Call me Betty White. That's the way my clothes look. I wear that Lucy look, either to the floor, kind of poofy, or to just above the ankle and poofy. Since my accident, it's difficult for pants and things, so I like the free flow of a dress more, which is odd. I've always had to wear a dress or a uniform or suits, what have you, because that's the way I work. I kind of ran the place. I'm one of those, you don't get in my way. You won't like me if you get in my way. I ain't gonna try to be mean. I just am. I'll warn you. Even my son would tell my grandson, we'd all be at dinner. Me and my grandson are going tit for tat, and my son would go, "Son, your grandma's mad. Shut up right now." And that boy would shut up. I tried to needle him. Daddy said you was mad. So you got to love my kids. I can't figure out why I didn't look into it. I felt that it was warm today. I'm hoping my air's not working funny. I don't know. I've only been up 15 minutes, and I'm ready at this point to go find a fan and check on my air conditioning unit. It did go out. It seems like every year. We've been here 15 years. It's our fourth set of equipment. And upstairs, to me, it's just unbearably hot in the summer. Anything over 73 degrees for me, I get really hot and I can't breathe very well. These are not helping. Don't send it in. I already know. They go out when I'm talking. And since this is technically what I do, is get up here and talk to y'all, they tend not to be lit. Sorry. I like those. I like my whiskey on the rocks. And my husband buys me these little whiskey fireballs. And I love the little airplane bottles. So he buys me a little bucket with 25 or so of these in there. And so I usually, while I'm up here, I call it liquid courage like everybody else. My parents called it a stiffener. So the ladies would pass out. I've never been able to do that no matter what is going on in my life. And I prayed, let me pass out. From pain, dead, I don't care. Many times, never could pull that off. But my parents' age group, which were the World War IIers and that Depression era, the women would faint. They never hit a freaking floor, man. No, there was always a chair, a man's arms, but they never fell to the floor. But they would faint. And then they would tell a kid or somebody, go in the cabinet, see what we got. They called it hooch. And they would, go get the hooch. And they would give them wake them up a little bit. They had these little ammonia ampules. Even if you're faking, you can't get past that. You come gaping for air, hitting stuff terrible. So yeah, they would wake them up, hand them a stiffener. And I like to use a tumbler because people were watching the show. And I have a lot of shot glasses from around the world. My husband and I have collected. He's also a truck driver. Well, he taught driving and all that, as well as he did it for 50 years at least. Yeah, I mean, he didn't stop till even after he retired, he worked. So he was still doing it for another friend of his just to fill in. And he was still gone most of the time. We have a great marriage. That's why I mentioned about how hot it is upstairs, because he has the man cave upstairs. We had turned both the rooms upstairs before my accident into apartments with my grandson coming back. My son lives an exit away from me. My grandson lives an exit away from me. When he first came back from Korea, he did not have that address, so he stayed with me because he didn't want to stay with Dad. Although Dad's got the 3,000 square foot house, and he didn't want to stay with Dad. So we turned him into apartments upstairs. So because I had already had it and I had recovered fairly well from it, and I made everybody stay away from me. And I was like, no. But I knew I had natural immunities after that. And it wasn't as severe as, it never became life-threatening, and I never actually went to the doctor. My doctor at that time, I'm seen by the VA, of course, and my doctor, I just, phoned her and said, there it is, here's the symptoms. I could do my own BP and all that stuff that they need to know. And so that worked out great for me. I love that. And so I still have that. We order our medicine and all that through. We don't have to go up there every 3 months. Or every month in some cases if you still got painkillers, which they don't treat pain. I'm bedridden for a year. They told me to take extra strength Tylenol. Now I knew people frowned on you going in and hurting folk. But there was many a time I wanted to hammer and I wanted to just go, pop, here's you some Tylenol. because I knew they weren't going to settle for that. But again, they frown on that. And so, yeah, Hippies Unite. Come on, guys, get up here and talk to me. Start your own show. Throw me a comment in there. I'll go see you. I have a bunch that I subscribe to that I try to get in at least once or twice a week. I mean, I get you every day. I don't know how, but we both retired, and he's busier than he was, and I'm busier than I used to be with 2 jobs and raising a kid. So, and then kids. So, yeah, I don't know how the hell that happens. I've said before that it's like somebody turned up the time so that our days go by at like 12 hours and 3 hours. Because literally, my feet hit the floor. It's before daybreak. Before I turn around and even look at the clock, it's 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm like, it cannot be, because I'm thinking it's 10, 9:30, 10 o'clock. It's 1:30, 2 o'clock. I'm like, that just can't, and it keeps happening to me. So then I'm going, okay, I'm old, so it could be happening. I'm not so sure, but we'll go with it, whichever way that is. The other reason that I decided to get up here was to show everybody that, again, you don't have to be a professional. It's free. And we can all talk about, like I said, the things we always talk about as we friends gather in a circle or here at the bar now. It's a huge bar. We had to redo the whole floor on the bottom floor to accommodate it. My husband went to go get it. I said, that's great. He was looking at a corner bar, he thought. He got to a $7 million home, and there was this big bar with the big mirror. It holds up. I mean, it's got everything on. So we have 2 sides of a bar, not just it's a bar, almost the size that you would find if you walked into a place. And in some cases, smaller ones, yeah, about this size. We can put 6 people here besides the bartender comfortably. So we redesigned the flow of the room to be open and have other seating available, but where it could move. So he took out carpets and wood floors went down and painted and all that. We've never put stuff back on the walls because right after that, well, within a year, we were just starting to get finished with all that work. And I had the accident and I was out. I couldn't do anything. I didn't even go on Facebook. I was in a bad way. I was just praying to die. I was like, come on, God keeps throwing me back down here. I don't know what he expects me to do with this god-awful mess. Yes, you heard me. So anything that crosses the mind comes out. My bar, my rules, which means there really aren't too many rules. My generation, I know, was taught manners, and our generation taught the kids manners. Now, I have no idea what is going on with college kids. I think they should all be sent to the military for the first 2 years. There's a lot of European places and countries, rather, that are that way. They're volunteer military. You go in as soon as you're 18. Well, I guess you have to finish your high school. I'm not sure on all of them, but my son was born in Heidelberg, Germany, so he had dual citizenship. So he renounced his at 35 and worried the whole time that they were going to call him up and he was going to have to go, which made me crack up even then. So yeah, the most of them have the volunteer 18 to 20. And I think that's a good way for them to grow up. When I see them out there wearing Palestinian scarves and saying that the Palestinians were correct in massacring nearly 3,000 people, defenseless people, men, women, old, young, it did not matter, and it was not clean. The Israelis shielded the world from a lot of the horror that they faced when they got to that area. And I don't know what took the IDF so long. I've been asking that a long time. I said, where were they out in the Negev desert with a fence that I could jump? And I'm not a young bird, but I could have got through that, let alone with bolt cutters. And that's what these kids, they had a fence. They had like a garden fence between them and the people that want them dead. There's no question of this. So I'm trying to figure out what these kids are doing out here saying, oh, that's, from the river to the sea. They couldn't tell you what river to the sea. Minnie asked. They couldn't tell you. No, but they thought that, I guess, that these people should be dead. Now, mind you, the Israelis got everything out of Gaza. They used to have some of Gaza. Might have been all of it. But they took and they closed down their home. They took down everything construction-wise that they had there, homes, stores, what have you. Here you go. And people were crying and they were having to be pulled, that was their homes. And they still had to get out and resettle further into Israel. They did do that, but that doesn't seem to be something that these kids were ever taught. if they were ever taught anything. I saw one group of 3 women, and a young man came up with the microphone. He said, "Hey, ladies, can I ask you a few questions?" And they said, "Yeah, how many?" He's like, "Okay, 3." The only one I remember, because I kept laughing so hard, was, who was the man that stood on the moon? And these kids were arguing. Sorry, the moon was the one they looked at. Who was the first man to stand on the sun was the question. And they were looking at men who stood on the moon. And I just kept laughing because there was no answer. Nobody goes, of course, to the sun. There were others, but again, I laughed through them. I'm like, what are these kids getting an education on? Well, they're not getting an education. If they were getting an education, they wouldn't be so stupid to stand up there and spout that nonsense. And if they did, they'd at least know what the hell they were talking about, which they don't. They're good if they can spell their name and print. Now, I can't read print. I can't write print very fast, but you can give me cursive or shorthand or a typewriter or what have you, and I can burn 148 words a minute. Now, just a typewriter. These kids are going, you know, I'm like, well, how? My kid, too. I mean, we talked about this, and he's grown, of course. His son's grown. He's got a 13-year-old still at home, my granddaughter. As far as a whip, all they do is this phone thing. They invite you to come over and it is. I got tired of going, you know, and it's just so rude. And I've told them for a decade now that it's rude. My granddaughter had some darn sense till she was like 11, and they gave her a phone. And after this, spell it out on there. I'm just texting. Well, stop it. Now she acts like she's, you know, on the brink of death, and you know, she's barely breathing or whatever. My God. We were here when this was on the ground floor. I used to work IT, and basically IT was, did you plug it in and unplug it and plug it back in? That was IT for like a decade. They changed everything till people got used to it, till everybody had pretty much the equipment they would need for everybody to get off of analog and go digital, and that's what they did. Now, there hasn't been a lot of difference since, say, 2012. I'll give it 2012. Everything was now digital, no more analog, and people pretty much understood things. That the smartphone was the thing that changed that. And then everybody it was bad enough before, but when they did the smartphone, and then they came out with, it's got 2 cameras, it's got 3 cameras, and my son is over here showing me, how much you pay for that phone? $2,000. Give me here. I'm gonna. I could have went to Disney. So they went to Disney. It didn't cost them that. It cost them like 8 times that. When I went, it was a long time ago, and it was still expensive. It's always been expensive. So I wanted us, like I said, to get together. I got live chat up here. Otherwise, you have to listen to me talk to y'all for another half an hour. You will see me do that a lot. It tends to get smoky in here, even though it's the bar. And I tend to, like I said, instead of using shot glasses, because people thought I was drinking too much, because I put ice in the shot glass. So I'm, you know, putting a little Tibble in there, like 6 or 7 times. People go, you shouldn't drink that much. I was like, oh crap. I don't. It's got this burst of cinnamon behind it. It's awesome. Whiskey fireballs, girls, try those. And I actually cheat a little bit because I put a little bit of OJ in mine. And just in case, I always keep one over here because I'll end up choking sometimes. I'm old. And so this is like my power second. This is when I go up here to go, get out of here. Does everybody appreciate the fact that the IRS is no longer mobilizing 88,000 troops to come get us? I thought that was pretty cool. Then I heard about the fraud in Minnesota. I was like, you couldn't have started there a decade ago. Let me see, who's been there for how long? When did this stuff start? And the congresswoman has been there how long? Okay, might have something to and you never see these people get their comeuppance. Martha Stewart was sent to jail for insider trading. She didn't do her own trading. The people she hired did that trading. They didn't go to jail, she did. Now, we've had one that had an increase of $30 million in their income reported on this year's taxes. Well, somebody leaked that because the year before they had barely had $10,000 or what have you, besides their salary, I guess. But this $30 million hike, and it was, oh, my husband owns a vineyard and sells wine, and nobody could get a bottle of wine. There were no bottles of wine, and so that hit, and the 30 million increase hit, and it's a lot of money to buy a winery. So they own the winery, so we know this. The second report is what kills me. They come out after like 4 or 5 weeks of this crap, and everybody going, "What? That's insider trading. That's got to be insider trading." And even the ones who did trading said that's just beyond the pale. We can't even figure how they did that. These are the people that were the experts on trading. And I'm looking at this and I'm shaking my head, going, nobody's going to have a problem with this. Nobody's going to say you should have done that, even though they put Martha Stewart in jail for it. And I've been right. They have not done anything to these people. Lamborghinis have been I love watching the shorts on Lamborghinis and so forth, all the sports cars being removed. Everybody going, this is my car, this is my car. It's for the children. I'm like, it's a Maserati. Where are you putting the kids? Are you strapping them to the hood? In the snow, they're out there in sandals, headscarves, can't tell her. I call them cousinettes. Those women that run around in them black tents and got that letterbox look. I got that from Britain. Isn't that a cute talk? Yeah, and even that's got a screen on it. You might be able to see their eyes. They look like tiny little cousinettes from the Addams Family. Remember the hairball that ran around? That's what they reminded me of. I'm like, come on. Even in places that they are now doing this to, Iran and so forth, they all but Iran and might be, I don't know, I'm sure it's probably one or two more, but some of the others have relaxed those, and their women are allowed to show their hair. I can't imagine running around in 122 degrees sunshine with a black tent on while the dude I'm with is not wearing anything but a white sheet and a checkered flag stuck down his head with elastic bands. Not impressed. And I'm wondering why the women do not fall out more often. Probably because they just let them sit there and roast. I mean, they do. It's horrific what I see these women going through. And then you take the pictures back to before OPEC, and you'll see that these women were wearing miniskirts. They didn't have nothing on their heads. They had that hair fly free like it should be. They should be treated no different than anybody else if that's the way it wants to go, as long as they're not running around nude. And there are places that do that because I've been there. I kept driving through. Not a big fan. But, to each their own, and it's a designated area. So, don't take the kids or blindfold them if you have to go through. But there are countries that, ladies of the night, they're all registered and they're all checked on the government dole for HIV and all that. And it's a good system, if they can't do other work. I don't think that anybody just gets up one morning and says, well, I need to be a hooker or what have you. A lady of the night would be a better description. But I don't think they get up that day and go, yeah, I got to try this. No, I think they get up on day 7 and go, I haven't eaten since, last month. I might have to try this because they have a friend that's doing it, saying, this is how I eat. This is how I make my money. It's scary to me. Jack the Ripper is just one good one that comes up to mind about the ladies of the night being careful. Now, ever since I was in the military, I've always carried. Concealed carry, whatever they want to call it. I've always had one. And it's come in handy on more than one occasion. And I've often told my friends, these ladies usually don't have a weapon and they don't know what to do with the weapon. And I recommend all of them, including everybody that's watching, that it might not be your own life that you save. It could be those kids that are going to be mowed down because nobody had a weapon to take down the bad guy. And I was pinned down one time. I was active duty and I was at a parade. My grandson didn't believe me, but he actually looked it up and Googled. That did happen. I was like, why do you guys think I make this stuff up? You think I would just sit at home? So yeah, it happened. And I was one of those pinned down when I had grabbed a mother and 2 kids and got them to safety. But we were pinned down. We couldn't do anything. And it took a while for them. The guy he had an M16 and was in an RV and fortified and all that. It took a while to take this guy down. And the whole time, you're laying on two kids who are just, they're not even crying anymore because they're so scared. Their whole bodies are shaking, and you're trying to, same with the mother. And it felt like an eternity to me. And I was so angry at myself because I didn't have a weapon. And I was fairly close in, and I could see the guy. I mean, that's how we got pinned in. There was this space, and you couldn't even move backwards or forwards without a possibility of being shot, which a couple of people had tried, and then they were trying to get and drag them back and getting shot, and it was a mess. And after that, I said, never again. I will always have a weapon because you never know. It might not be me that they're going to shoot at first. If it is, well, I tried. Somebody else get the weapon and go for it. But I do tell women of all ages, including even my granddaughter, at the time she's 18, 19, to take the courses, get familiar with their weapons, take the courses, qualify, get your licenses, but carry. I don't mean you have to say, they're trying to reconnect my system. I don't know why. I hope I didn't lose too many of you. It's telling me we're still up and running. Every once in a while, I get this on here. I don't know if it's a weak signal or what's going on. I don't see it often, but it'll break through and tell me that my signal is not strong, but it's not actually interrupted the program as far as I can tell. If I have time, I'll go back over this one. I've got only 20 minutes or so left. And there are other experiences that I could describe, but there are other people out here besides me that have also had the same things happen to them. And I have seen on several occasions where somebody broke and was doing this. One was a naval yard, and the man ran to his trunk and got his weapon. And he saved a lot of lives. But it doesn't happen very often. The beach in Australia, one or was it two? I think it was a father and son, but they managed to wrestle guns away, I think, and return fire. I mean, that's the thing to me. There are enemies out there. They're not out there registering. They're not out there saying, I'm pissed off and I'm going to shoot everybody over here. No, they don't do that. So we're already at a loss to begin with before we get started, because we're at a disadvantage. And I think that needs to be checked out. People ought to go the other way with that. Let's see, what else did I want to opine about today? It's been a long day already. I started it with my first cup of coffee, which I grabbed after I had been doing this and that, and I set it down, and it decided to make a tidal wave. So I've changed and put something else on and run around town, and I get back, and there's spots all over. I don't even know what happened. I'm trying to get my necklace. It's bugging me. I hate things that I think I went the wrong way. Because it's like a mirror image to me. It annoys me when things aren't right. And my husband just bought this set for me. So I was trying to make do with blending. I like to bling in and add stuff to whatever outfit I'm wearing. It dresses up a $10 dress. And I get a lot of compliments. A lot of my neighbors, they call me Lucy or June. I think the one is calling me June. The other one just calls me Bubbly. I'm going to look at her up later. She keeps saying she's coming to the bar. She's been to the house many times. She's never been to the bar per se. She didn't have a drink. And I keep threatening her. I'm leaning there, turn off your car. She catches me outside. I guess that's when our schedules kind of mix in, because she's coming from getting her husband or whatever from the base, and I'm here at the base at the same exit. I always am. All my years since I went in the military, I have always been next to a base or 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from a base. I don't know why. It just works out that way. Yeah, I don't get it, but I'm good with that. It's fine with me. And it's convenient. I'm less than 5 minutes, I guess, maybe 15 to my VA, or to my hospital VA. And that came in handy. I was in such a mess for a year. Oh, Lord. Yes, as I was saying, Canada has new euthanasia laws. They euthanized 35,000 people last year. Don't quote me, check the stats, but I thought that's what it was. I can't remember now where I heard it, but I was like, damn, 35 people or 35,000 people said, yeah, I'm gone. But you think about a huge population. My husband and I have both beat cancer. I've had 6 surgeries. My eyes have been I had double surgery. All this stuff has happened to us in the past, yeah, a couple decades, and we've beat it. And his was at stage 4. We had hospice, and they said flat out to him, the only reason you survived is her, because she kept you at like I kept him like in a sterile environment. I wouldn't do anything. Stay there, and the whole house was cleaned every day. It had animals. We had 2 dogs and a cat and all that dander and fluff, So it was all day, every day. And I was just cranky as hell at some parts because I was so tired. And I got to say, if you're the only caregiver for someone who has cancer, basically female to male, if female is the caregiver, and the men have it, oh my word, a child wouldn't have been as much trouble. He'll probably watch this to cuss me out. And oh no, I wasn't. But who films? I should have been filming that, but you don't even think of it. My kids would, or their kids, but not me. I didn't think about doing things like this until just a few years ago, although this has been around longer than that. And so I take a little bit of freedom myself, like the young ladies in those burkas, I think they're called. 3 days a week, I let my hair down, I get up here and I talk to y'all. And at the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, they haven't stayed for 2 seconds. They're probably bored now. And I'm like, I give a shit. It's probably in the cloud. It's going to be out there. So those guys from 21, 22, hi. Hi. Back when we talked to paramedics, it was always me and another guy. He was ahead of me. And I had to go for the flag. I called it the flagpole. But it was always the upper floor. I had to go shimmy down that. So they would take bets every time I come up there, how fast I would get up the pole to the pole. I love that thing. It's so much fun when I was young. As we were in a lot of firsts, we hippies. And that was, again, the whole lead into this was, we really were not, how do I put that? We weren't the ones that were doing stuff. We were the ones doing stuff, keeping our heads down. But, we got loaded with so much with technology changing every other year. I went back to college 3 times, and it's not like I have a small IQ, but you had word processors, you had, AOL, you had all these different things, and they kept stopping and starting another one. And back you would go to training. And suddenly, like I said, it finally kind of slimmed on out. And I said they would because I'm retiring. And I done had the same machine for like 2.5 years. I was looking around going, I know they want this one. You get so used to it when you got your system, your things working, you're off work when you're supposed to be. And then you're in class to learn a new one. And you don't have, any time at home because you're doing 80-hour weeks between working and learning. And that was always fun. So here I have, like I said, retirement. Well, again, it's like time coalesces and just compresses down somehow. Every day, like you get up before daylight and you look around and it's 2, 3 o'clock. And you're like, I had laundry. How the hell did I do this before? And you look around, the house needs dusting, it needs sweeping, it needs vacuuming, it needs mopping, you got clothes that are dirty, bedding to change. And you're like, well, what? And dinner? I'm supposed to make dinner? And of course, my husband of many decades is really cute about that. In all these years, he still hasn't learned that we are not a Denny's. We have apartments, like I said, upstairs. We've made that way. So he's always up there. And at night, he can't sleep with me because he's so loud. He has throat cancer. And even though he recovered, his voice was, and he snores. So it's terrible. I mean, I tried for like a year or 2. I was like, you got to get out of here. I'm going to shoot you, man. I'm going to be up for 4 days and just say, shut up. So, like I said, we did all that. So he's generally up there. And I'll call him on the phone. This is how late we are. Or he'll call me, actually, on this one. He calls me and he says, so what are you making for breakfast? And I'm like, it's 2:30, dude. Where do you think you are? And doesn't register. It might be a little cute, but it's annoying as hell to me. Mm. And he still does it. It annoys me that these go out 5 seconds after I light them too. Mm. But they're little cigars. What you gonna do? I'd be happy with that because I almost had my drink done and I'm almost time. My kitties tend to go where they want to, and then I'll go, is that fur? What's on my lip? Am I growing a mustache? Or it's odd. I feel awfully hot today. I do have to check the AC. Something may not be right. I know if I break out in a sweat, I'm just not happy, and it's above 73, and I keep the thermostat set at 72. Believe me, my electric company just adores me, but I shouldn't be hot. Although I am in a gown that it is long sleeve, but it's very thin material, and it goes down to but just above the ankles. But again, it's very light and airy. Actually, I think more comfortable than pants. It's just you've got some airflow, and I'm only in a pair of pants, boots, whatever. If it's rainy and muggy or whatever. But my choice was I changed my whole wardrobe back. This would be 2 years ago now, and people were freaking out on me because even though I couldn't really hardly move, I would still be able to get to the bath, shower, with the shower chair tilted and all this, so I could get dressed and, do some makeup. And it'd take me, that's it for the day for me once I got that done. Then it was fight the pain from doing all this. They thought I was crazy. I was like, it's not going to get me down that way. But it beat me enough severely, I'll tell you that. It's bad when you won't even go on Facebook. I mean, I didn't even look at all the laptops and Chromebooks and tablets that I have. And my son always sends me books on one tablet so that I could just read. And he never asked me, he just knows me real well. He knew I wasn't doing that. So he sent me like this, he ordered for me a stack of puzzles and stuff to do. So when I was bored or in commercials, I could do these puzzles, and that was a great help. My son was cool. He's been a cool kid. He had trouble enough because he had the hot mom, and I thought that was so funny. But when I thought about it, most of the other kids' moms, they were Southern Georgia girls, and most of them had not even gotten out of grade school before they started families. I mean, literally 13. And they barely had been out of their city. Might have been, to go to a tubing event or something a county away, but not by much. And just mothers at a very young age. And that was their whole world, were their kids. And they had a lot of kids. I had my son, but my son always joked about it because he says, my mom's never stay at home. She'd come running through the house with her briefcase and a lab coat on, going, I got to get over here. I'll be back at midnight. And she just came in at 3. So he would make he would make me something to eat. He would hand me a sandwich on my way through, because I basically would come in, change, and go to a second job. As a single mom, it was never easy to raise your child and make sure you had enough money to pay for everything. So that was just a nightmare of mine. And I never drove back in those days because I always had mass transit come to my door and drop me off where I had to go. And it was like $15 a month versus $400, to pay for a car and insurance. It was even more than that. In some cases, you had to pay to park anyway, which I was like, you're kidding. No. I mean, basically, I'd spend like $15 a year to jump on a bus, either in D.C. or Houston, San Antonio, wherever I was. And then I came to Georgia. I was adopted. The biological family reached out, found us when I was 30. We were in the Parade magazine, and we were on the cover of Parade magazine as 2 young girls that an older couple had adopted, and then the government would give them a check for each child until they reached 21. Hence the Parade magazine. Well, the biological mother told everybody that we had been kidnapped. She couldn't find us, but the father had kidnapped us. And that kind of got spit in the eye of, because she got brain cancer, a tumor, and they went through her things, and she was still alive, but they were trying to set her up so she could get out of there and go on hospice, and they found the Parade magazine article. She had known all along where we girls where she had signed the adoption papers. The first time I actually met her face to face, I was like, "You were there at Christmas when we were adopted, standing by the Christmas tree." I always knew my name was Holmes back then. They changed it to Bullock, which this was the whole thing in this Parade magazine. They called one Bullock. This was the half brother's wife. They called one Bullock. My brother answered the phone. He had inherited the family home and said, "Yes, you got the right people." So I get this frantic call from the young sister. It was me, my sister's 2 years younger. And, I'm going, you have to go. I'm like, I ran the Holiday Inn as manager, and this was a big Holiday Inn, with the pool, the bar, the restaurant, all that. And we had things going up, like Schlitterbahn was already up, but they were doing other water parks, one right across from me. So I had all the construction crew, and I did all that. And it was a hoot, I tell you what. They gave me a lot of passes for the kids. And, and Six Flags, all that stuff I used to get passes for. And it wasn't just that. I couldn't I didn't want to just leave my juniors in charge. That's why they were my juniors. Yeah, it's like I thought I would come back to this crap, and I did, to train them at least to take over. So it was one of those. And I spent 2 weeks. She didn't. She spent 3 days. Her husband joined her then, spent another 2 nights, and then they left. Well, I spent 2 weeks and went back to San Antonio, and they wanted me to move there. And my son wanted to move there because he wanted to know the family. Well, the other thing that kind of convinced me was I had met the half-brother wife, the one who found me. Her name is Betty. She's gone now, too. And her brother is the person I married. I took him to San Antonio with me and got married there. Wasn't any family members, so we had a great wedding. Jumping off the top of the buildings to the pool and stuff, because I held a reception at our apartment complex in the party room. So that was, and the apartment. So people were going back and forth. We had photographers. It was a hoot. It was a real hoot. And it was nice. And we had it all paid for before we even did it. And then for the honeymoon, to take off on, I had got the bridal suite at the old Holiday Inn that I had managed, but I had trained and had quit. By then I was working for UTHSC, and I ran that division for a long time. So off we went. Yeah, we had a great time. Everything was set up. And again, no relatives, so I loved that. We did end up moving back there, or back here, because his parents and them were there. But it was very hard to explain to people that he's technically my brother-in-law because his sister was married to the biological half-brother. However, that's no relation to me whatsoever. None. And then my son, of all things, and he and my husband, and that's his dad. There's a long story behind that. And he gave me away. He was old enough, so he gave me away, and that was a real treat. I enjoyed the wedding, enjoyed doing all that. And poor guy, I don't take much from anybody, so he kind of marches to my tune more than I think in some cases. He's pretty good about it. Just like my whiskey bottles. Hey, babe, as he's going out there, I'm out of my whiskey bottles. I have a podcast next day. All right, baby, bring me my whiskey. So I call him my long-suffering husband. And it has been. It's been ages. It's what it seems like to me. So I know it does to him. And like right now, he knows I'm out. He says, "Okay, you're getting drunk for the afternoon." I'm like, "Yep." I poured a whole bottle of that in here. I could chug that whole bottle if it was cold. I just like it cold. And I don't drink once I get off camera, so I try to finish it while I'm on camera because, like I said, I don't drink it after I'm off camera. Same with these. And so I just put all the equipment away and stash it under the bar and pick up my cigar when I get back another day. Feel like George Burns. You have to be a hippie to know who George Burns was. Or George Carlin. He was my favorite, George Carlin. That should ring a bell with a few people. Johnny Carson, loved that man. Just go back and look at his best episodes. I was laughing till I cried. And I mean, we had a lot of fun. We still do. And I still think I can reach the hippies that are out there. So if you're out there, if you even know a hippie, and if they wear tie-dye and they're around my age, tell him to get up here and say, hey, let's talk. Let's find out where you get yours and I get mine, and what the government should or shouldn't do, which most of us don't want to talk about politics, but I think Donnie's pretty cool. The reflecting pool, I heard, has sustained damage, made me angry as hell. That was one of my favorite places besides Watergate Hotel. We called it the Two Martini and Valium Lunch. Had a senator, I ain't gonna mention his name now, bless him, he's gone too. But I never paid my own drink, of course. Are you crazy? No. No. Just that we didn't have a lot of time after we sat down two of them, had a Valium. We was ready to go back to work and get through with that mess. But he used to say all the time, you got to go, you can move, do something. You talk too much, they're going to shoot you. Every time he saw me, he'd buy me a drink, come over and sit down, give me a hug, and tell me, you got to be careful. You got to keep your head low. They're going to shoot you. And he was so sweet about it. He really was. And I miss all that. I do miss that from D.C. When I heard about him cleaning the reflective pot, I was like, about time, man. In the 80s, it was a freaking disaster then, But the wild thing was you'd be out there in the summer, and July 4th was the smoke in. If you don't know what a smoke in is, ask a hippie. I got a ride back on the horse when we were passing it. Cop was so cool. Because my kid was with my mother-in-law on the top of the agriculture building. And I had gone down to the Washington Monument to see what was going on and all that. And partying my way back. We had a lot more fun than I've seen this next two generations do, including my sons. Everything was illegal then except for booze. And I worried about him because he liked ale. He didn't like beer, and I'm the same way. But it's not like I'm still in Europe. It doesn't have to be hot. It can be cold. But I worried that he might drink too much, because I do too. I drink spirits. It's very rarely do I have an ale, and I never have a beer. I had beer when I was poor, and there were other guys around, and I was single. Everything was a kegger back in the day. You grabbed it, went over, and it's just, that's who it was. But I don't see a lot of that now. Even the concerts I stopped going to in the 90s because they weren't worth going to. It's amazing we never burnt one down. Everybody had a lighter. You'd be on somebody's shoulders. My ex was pretty good about that. He had a chest. Unfortunately, too many women enjoyed that. So I was like, I got to go. My turn. Bye. I just hear that in my ears, and it cracks me up. I don't know why. It brings me back to when I was a paramedic, and I had a lot of fun with the guys. And no, there were no fire women at that time. It was the firemen. And you didn't even think about that. It just didn't. You didn't get out of there, turn your hair, purple, get a sign, and go, oh, these guys are bigots or what have you. It was just the way it was. And they treated us as sisters and wives, mothers. I mean, all due respect. We kidded around and, all that. Nothing improper. Even... We're the hippie generation. I don't know if y'all remember Woodstock, but instead of clothes, people were wearing mud. It's not that different. The hippies didn't really go anywhere. Like I said, the older generation wouldn't give up power, and the hippie generation was like, screw you, we don't want it. Look what you did. I've said all the time now, especially with Donald Trump, bless you, Donnie. They stole the election. I'm in Georgia. I'm telling you, that's where I started going, but I'm running out of time. But yeah, Donnie, hang in there. Just keep watching Georgia. It's a sticky wicket. I would finish out that thought, but hopefully I'll check this out and be able to tell you all the next time, because my hour is up, and I try not to go over an hour. So hang in there, guys, and I'll see you Friday. If you did see me, say so.